Sure. I'm small, so I might stay. Wow. Yep. Came in this morning raw, so. Okay.
So everyone knows we are live.
Okay, all right. Well, you too then. Okay. I put the cheese. Thank you so much for.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Do you think that we're ready to get started? Can start roll call if so. Okay. I'll go ahead and start that then. Good morning, everyone. My name is Candace Brose. I serve as chair of the Safe Harbor Commission. I am going to call the meeting of the Safe Harbor Commission to order, starting with the roll. I can believe that we have Diane Scoggins.
Here.
April Hale calling in. I'll come back to April. Jay Neal, I think I can see him there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. See Irene Munn.
April's here.
Okay. Hey, April. How about Irene? Okay. Teresa Schleifer.
I'm here.
Okay. Grant Thomas.
Here.
Okay. And I believe we heard that Judith Fouts would be absent today. I just want to confirm. Judith, are you present? Okay. No. All right. Let me try one more time. Irene Munn.
Irene's just coming into the meeting, so she might be trying to get.
I think I can see her. Hey, there you are. Okay. So I believe that we have a quorum. And with that, I can go ahead and move into approval of the agenda. Today's meeting agenda, everyone should have gotten an advance copy. And one was made available to the public. Does anyone have any concerns about today's agenda? But if not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor to approve today's agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, with that, we have approval of today's agenda. Then we will also, move next to approval of the last meeting's minutes. That meeting occurred on September 15th, 2023. Everyone should have gotten an advance copy of those minutes for review. Does anyone on the commission have any corrections that they'd like to note? But if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the September 15th, 2023 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do we have a second to approve last meeting's minutes?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. With that, the motion carries and we have approval of the last meeting's minutes. Okay, let me make sure that we have Dr. Shawn Johnson with the Office of Provider Management on the call. I think I see her. Hey, Shawn.
Hello, good morning.
Let's see. We were going to start this section of the agenda for general updates and announcements with an update from Dr. Shawn Johnson regarding Grace's Place, which is the 24-bed facility in Gwinnett that was discussed at the last meeting for children in the state's custody or at risk of entering state custody with a history of sexual exploitation or CSEC involvement. So, Dr. Johnson, if you're ready, I can turn it over to you to just share the latest information following last meeting's update on
Okay.
Grace's Place.
I'm ready. Good morning, everyone. As of today, Devereaux has hired for key positions such as the director, the assistant principal, and staff for first and second shift. They're currently hiring staff for third shift, and they have a job fair on today. So hopefully third shift will be taken care of after the completion of the job fair. Right now, they are currently working with their legal team and DOE reviewing the MOU for the Gwinnett County School System. And so hopefully that will be finalized within the next day or so. And their goal is to be able to begin accepting placement as soon as January. Are there any questions?
No. Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
is Grace's Place going to be a PRTF?
No, it's not.
Thank you.
It's going to be a regular specialized MWO placement for children with possible CSEC involvement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would that fall under a CCI or is that a separate designation?
It does.
Okay.
So it's currently being licensed. It has been licensed through residential childcare licensing.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll add, we're trying to coordinate to see if there is going to be an opportunity for a like a grand opening. And for that, then we'll keep the commission members apprised if there's a possibility for you to attend when they officially open their doors so we can celebrate this new facility for CSEC involved youth in the States. We will keep everyone apprised through Emma and Emily if we can get all of that nailed down with Devereaux leadership as we get closer to opening day. All right. For the next order of business and general updates and announcements, I see that we have Ron Stay, Senior Assistant Attorney General with the Attorney General's office. I know the commission members were interested in an update on the litigation concerning the commission's work. Ron, if you're ready, I will gladly turn it over to you to share the latest information for the commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thanks for letting me be here. Just by way of update, the litigation challenging the constitutionality of SB 8 and the Safe Harbor law, it, as you all know, has been ongoing for quite some time. The last activity, just to not go into too much detail, it had gone up to the Supreme Court, it had come back to the trial court, and the last major activity in that was we briefed and argued motions for summary judgment way back in the summer of last year. So this meeting is actually very fortuitous, and this update is very fortuitous because at the end of, or rather, the end of November, the court contacted us and finally asked us to draft a proposed order on the motion for summary judgment. Not sure why they waited a year and a half. You can never speculate as to what's going on behind the scenes at the court, but they finally asked, maybe it was because of year end. And I'm happy to report that we sent them an order, and that order was entered at the beginning of this week. So the case is now over in trial court. The order obviously upheld the constitutionality of the statute. So we have won at the trial court level. The order was in our favor on all counts and claims. The first time the case went around in the trial court, we did not actually win on everything. So we had to go take it up on a cross appeal, and it was very unfinal. But this is final and gives us victory on every single claim. However, the caveat.
He froze on our caveat. We were waiting with bated breath.
The caveat
Well, I
is,
can say it. We know nothing's ever final with the courts, so that's probably.
yeah, the caveat is they are probably going to appeal that order.
Yeah. But that's great news. That's a really great update to hear.
Can I ask a quick question, please? Who filed the lawsuit?
I'm sorry, I just dropped out of the meeting for a second. Can you all
We
hear me
lost
again?
you at the caveat. You were about to give the caveat and it froze.
Okay. All right. So there's a that, and can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. And I apologize for that. I'm at home right now, so I don't know if that was my internet connection or not. I heard a question to take this in the logical order. I heard a question: who filed the lawsuit? The lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the statute was filed by an association of adult entertainment clubs. And when I say adult entertainment clubs, this particular association is entirely or almost entirely strip clubs. So it's an incorporated entity that purports to represent the strip clubs. And they're the ones who filed the suit. The caveat right before I got cut off is that they can appeal, and they have told us they are appealing, which is not surprising. It's what we expected. That's what happened the first time. The first time we both had to appeal because the order was not entirely in our favor. This time they will be the only appeal because the order was completely in our favor. It's a good order. It's very comprehensive. We think it's going to give us an excellent chance on appeal. That appeal goes directly to the Supreme Court of Georgia. Because of the nature of this suit challenging the constitutionality of a statute, those always go directly to the Supreme Court. So I guess the somewhat good news on that is that we only have to go to one more court on this, and then it'll be over. Our Solicitor General's office is going to handle that appeal as they did the first time around. They are hoping and expecting that everything will be concluded by the end of 2024. We can only move as fast as the Supreme Court wants us to move, but we are not thinking that they are going to let this dally past the end of next year. The trial court delayed it a substantial amount of time, but we think now that we're in the Supreme Court, we're going to get some quicker action. And we're looking at, again, the next, 10 months or so to have that briefed and then argued and then decided by the Supreme Court. So in sum, I think we're in really good position for the appeal. I think the order which we wrote for the trial court, it's very, very comprehensive, and it's very well reasoned. And can't ever predict or guarantee anything in the appellate context, but we think it's very good. And our Solicitor General is very, very good at what he does, and I think will do an excellent job arguing this on behalf of the commission and the Commissioner of Revenue. So if that all came through and I didn't drop out again, that's where we are at, and I don't know if there are any questions, any further questions.
Hey, Ron, this is April Hale. Can you shoot me a copy of that order, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, final call. Any more questions for Ron while we've got him?
Well,
Ron, thank you for coming and
Go ahead.
updating us on that. We've been anxiously waiting that, so thank you for doing that.
I was just
Not a
going to
problem at all,
ask,
and
I was just going to ask, so if, when we win on this, will it be retroactive for them to, back to when this started, for them to, have to pay up?
yeah, the short answer to your question is yes. The way the Department of Revenue has been handling this is the clubs, and I have to confirm this. This was my understanding the last time I checked, but that was over a year ago. The way they've been handling this is the clubs can do one of two things. Some clubs have been choosing to just pay the tax, or pay the assessment rather, and that's why, you know, there is some money that's been coming in. So they've just been paying it. If for those clubs, if the assessment was ultimately held to be unconstitutional, which, you know, again, we're thinking not, but if that were to happen, they would have the right to file for a refund with the Department of Revenue and get their money back. The other clubs that don't want to pay, they've filed protests with the Department of Revenue. Protest is kind of the first administrative step when you think you're improperly being assessed a tax, and they're citing this ongoing litigation as the reason. And so what happens then is the department is basically holding all of those protests in abeyance, which means they're kind of sitting on them and not acting on them right now because of the ongoing litigation. And if the litigation is resolved in favor of the clubs in the Supreme Court, then they will owe nothing, of course. If the litigation is resolved in our favor in the Supreme Court, then those clubs, you know, technically they could keep going, but they would lose. So what is likely to happen is those protests will all be denied, and those clubs will all be assessed the full amount of the tax that would have been due plus interest. So, you know, they're on for interest and all the tax in the event that we prevail. So that's kind of the risk that they take. The other clubs that are paying, you know, if they're avoiding the interest, and in the event that we lose the appeal, they'll get all their money back plus interest as would anyone who gets tax refunded. I don't know the breakdown though between clubs as to how many are paying, how many aren't. I'm not really sure. The club's lawyer asked me to check on that, and I'm going to do so to kind of get a sense as to whether most of them are paying or not choosing to pay. But that's a very long explanation for your very simple question, and the simple answer to it is yes, they're absolutely on the hook for this.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well,
no
thank
other
you.
questions. Sure. And if anyone ever has any questions in the future, feel free to reach out to me at the AG's office. I'm always happy to help you out.
Thank you, Ron. That was really helpful. I'm glad you could join us today. I know that we're all excited about this development. We appreciate your hard work. All right.
No problem. Thank you. And y'all take care. Have a good rest of the day.
You too. All right.
Bye.
So at this point in the general updates and announcements section, we will turn it over to Melissa Barwick. She is the DFAC's Chief Financial Officer and Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Finance within the agency. And she has prepared some information for the commission for a financial report. Melissa, if you're ready, I can turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me at this level? Okay. Well, it's great to be here today. Thank you for having me and thank you for that introduction, Commissioner Gross. If you want to go ahead to, so I wanted to, my first time joining y'all here today, just quickly touch on the different funding sources that are available to the commission this year and, you know, every year technically. First, obviously, being the Safe Harbor for Sexually Exploited Children Fund, which was established a separate fund in the state treasury in 2017. And that money is appropriated from those revenues earned, such as that Ron just spoke about from the adult entertainment businesses. And then additionally, there are state general funds that the Governor and General Assembly can also appropriate in excess of what is available for appropriation from that Safe Harbor Fund. So for the state fiscal year 2024, which started in July, the available funding for the commission is both current year Safe Harbor Fund. So that appropriation for state fiscal year 2024 was $200,199. Also some prior year kind of carryover funds, which total $487,926. And then some additional interest earned on those prior year funds of $17,927 for a total Safe Harbor balance of $706,053. The department has already entered into a contract with CJCC, so it's encumbered $661,790 of that funding. So remaining after that contract encumbrance from your Safe Harbor funds is $44,262. Go to the next. So this was provided to me, and I think Chris is going to speak on this as well, but so you can see the awards for 2022, the 2023 awards, and then I left blank 2024, but those two numbers, the $351,005 in 2023, and then the $310,790 that is available in this fiscal year, total up to that $700,653 on the previous slide. So I just wanted to include that here. Additionally, in state fiscal year 2024, the General Assembly appropriated state general funds of $3,375,000 to assist in the rehabilitation of children, youth, and adult victims of sexual trafficking. So this is for that contract with Devereaux and Grace's Place that the Commissioner and Dr. Johnson discussed. That contract amount that we have entered into with Devereaux is $5.9 million. And we have, so as you can see, there's a little bit of a delta between the base appropriation and the actual cost of operation of 2.5, but we have been communicating with the Governor's Office and Office of Planning and Budget to request the additional funds in the amended budget, as well as the state fiscal year 2025 budget, so the next big budget, to support the full cost of those operations. And so just as a kind of, I'm sorry, this is small, I wanted to include this here in terms of the timing, because the question is always, that I always get is, okay, we've requested the additional funding, when will we actually see those dollars? So in the state budget cycle, we are at the in-between point of that starting square, so the September, which is when myself, Deputy Commissioner Taylor, and our team submit our budget requests to the Office of Planning and Budget. In January, the Office of Planning and Budget then publishes the governor's budget report. That's in early January. That is his budget recommendation for the amended 2024 fiscal year and 2025. So that would be the soonest that we would have an inclination of what the governor intends to invest further into the commission. But then the rest of these circles, you get obviously input from the, the General Assembly has time to edit, add, get rid of certain things in the recommendation, and they have to meet between March and April, usually in a conference committee, to pass the same bill, right? So the agreed upon appropriations bill. Once the governor signs those, it's two different bills, one for amended, one for the big budget. That when it's signed is when it is enacted, and the new money would be available usually at the beginning of the following month. So at the earliest, probably April or May, where we would actually see that money basically be able to be allotted into our account here at DHS. So I just wanted to talk about that. And then finally, this is just kind of a further breakdown for anyone interested in the fund balance since 2021 and kind of that interest accrued that I discussed earlier. That is it. That is my contact information. If you want to reach out, have any questions, or I can answer anything now. I've been with the department a little over a year, so I don't know the answer. I will happily find it out for you, but it's great to be here again. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, for that. This is Teresa Schieffer. Can you go back one slide there? So let me ask you this. Taking out the Devereaux contract that you talked about, that we have a little bit of a balance, 2 point something that hopefully we'll get from the governor's office. When we look at this one and it says the remaining balance of 706,000-ish, is that what's available for us to do new awards with this year?
Do you want to go back in a way to
CJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the next one. Okay. So from what I understand is of that 706,000, 351 is for those 2023
Gotcha.
award cycle. So how I understand it, what is available for this award cycle would be that $310,000.
Perfect. Okay, so we do have, and I think that's the better slide that shows that for me then. So that 310 is essentially what we have available for awards right now, or fiscal year 24.
Yes.
And that's taking out anything that we owe on the Devereaux portion of things.
I wanted to separate those two funding sources. I think that's why I did it on separate sides, because I don't want y'all to have to basically, not give out the grants that you want to with this pot of money to cover what we're trying to work out with the Office of Planning and Budget for the Devereaux contract. So I haven't reduced this amount by any amount of deficit on the Devereaux side. It's kind of, we're at least the way that my team is looking at it right now, it's kind of two different.
It's
budgets.
two pots.
Yeah.
It's two pots money. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
And can we go to the CJCC screen? I had, no, that was the second one, I think.
Oh, okay.
That one. No, let's see. So the 661,790 is the combination of 20, those two amounts. Okay, that's what I thought.
The six, and I apologize.
That's okay.
The combination of those two amounts is the 706. Right now, we've only encumbered 661 with CJCC, and that's only because just recently we got the go-ahead that we could recognize the interest that was earned on the prior year fund. So that's what that additional kind of 44,000 is. So I think that's potentially a determination if y'all want to increase that contract to the full $706,000.53 and therefore be able to grant out that $310,000 on the next slide.
Did we get the MOU signed?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you, Melissa. That was great. Okay, Christy, time for you. Are you ready to take over?
Yes. Okay, and I just want to make sure that we clarify one thing. So the contract that we encumbered was for the 661,790, and that would have covered our SFY 23 awards, which was $351,005, and then the 310 is what we have not awarded out, right? But that's what we've encumbered in contract. Okay. So the additional remaining would be the add of 706 or whatever, if the commission decided to do that. Okay, great.
So that would be the amount of money this last amount, the 310,
Is what we have now.
or- Okay.
Is what we have now in.
For an RFP.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Okay, we can move forward. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Christy Carter, and I am the Victim Assistance Division Director at the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And we have been really honored to work with the Safe Harbor Commission since its inception. And the commission determined that they would like CJCC to step in and assist with the administration of Safe Harbor funding. And so we have been doing that. Again, in the SFY 22 and 23 cycles, and look forward to the administering and disbursement of funds in SFY 24. The commission asked us to give a brief update on our SFY 23 cycle. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we run on the state fiscal year cycle. And that grant period is from July 1st through June 30. And so for SFY 23, our awards ended on June 30 of 2023. We had 4 subrecipients, which was Micah's Promise in the amount of $62,000, Ferris Place, which was in the amount of $75,000, the University of Georgia Research Foundation SEAS Clinic in the amount of $72,000, and then Wellspring Living in the amount of $142,005. All of those awards have been closed out, and I'm happy to report that our grantees spent their full award amounts. So there will be nothing returned to the commission or the treasury. Moving forward. Okay, so Micah's Promise, and I actually have Dr. Starr here beside me, who is the founder of Micah's Promise and will be presenting to the commission after myself. Micah's Promise was initially awarded funds to support the cost of furnishing their new safe home. After awarding funds, right, we were a little delayed, and so they submitted an adjustment request, which was reported out to the commission for some vehicles, one for a 15-passenger van and one for a smaller vehicle to assist their participants in being transported to outings or medical appointments and things. And so they have procured those vehicles and submitted all of their expenditures. And so we have closed their award out. And then we also, again, made an award to Ferris Place, and this is a residential provider down in the Savannah Chatham area. And happy to report that they plan to open their doors this month. And so really looking forward to getting down there and visiting with Executive Director Julie Wade and their program. And we supported through the commission funds an outreach coordinator position. And so they hired the outreach coordinator position in August of 2022. And I've listed all of the outreach project activities that were conducted through the grant year of 2022 through June 2023. They have been incredibly busy, as you can see down in their area. And it has paid off because, again, they have been able to really reach their community and also all of the donors and corporate folks down there to, again, start their residential programming as of this month. So I would call that a huge win for the commission, and they are super grateful for your support. Moving forward. This is just a couple of examples of some of the events that they had throughout the year. Okay, our next award was again to the University of Georgia's Research Foundation, or the Wilbank SEAS Clinic. The SEAS Clinic was awarded funds to continue their staff salaries and efforts to expand services. So these folks run a legal clinic, and they hired an advocate with the increase of funds. They provided services to 52 survivors. 44.2% of those were in dependency cases, 28.8% in civil cases, 9.6% in our vacature and record restriction cases, and 19.2% was in general victim advocacy. I've listed the counties that they've reached with their direct legal services. The majority of those were in metro counties, but you can see, right, that some of those, especially Liberty County, was in South Georgia and some of our more rural areas. Again, in addition to legal services, they provided pro bono consulting or indirect legal services to survivors. And they didn't have specific numbers as they just began tracking those numbers. But again, we have listed all of the counties that they were able to reach with those pro bono services. And then our last award was to Wellspring Living. Wellspring Living has a number of programs, including the Receiving Hope Center. One of the big gaps that we have identified at CJCC and in the commission is resources to support our non-custodial minor human trafficking victims. And so that specific award helped to provide services to youth for 29 youth, and that was for an average of 39 days per youth that was funded. And, you know, again, this continues to be a big gap in the state, right, in providing private bed space to get these kiddos the specialized services that they need. And we did expend that really early in the grant period, the $142,000 that you all awarded. So again, they are super grateful for all of the support that the commission provided. Okay, so moving on to SFY 24, as we discussed, we have drafted the release for applications or requests for applications, and hopefully commission members received that draft. I want to talk a little bit about the priorities that have been listed, and then a few questions that we have for the commission in order to hopefully move forward with a motion to approve the draft, so that way we can move forward with posting in the new year because we're a little bit behind. Okay, as a reminder, the disbursement of money from the fund, right, is for the purpose of providing care, rehabilitative services, residential housing, health services, and social services. Again, to assist with establishing safe homes. And then also there is a portion that can be used for prevention and education awareness. To hopefully prevent, right, folks from becoming, victims of CSEC. So the available funds that we have in SFY 24 to award out currently is $310,790. And we would like to talk to the commission about the possibility of capping the award since there is the 310. We've had folks, right, that have come in and asked for $250,000 of those funds. And I know that the commission's interest is in trying to disperse the resources to as many, right, providers as we can to make a maximum impact. So we have, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you have
I just want, if you don't mind me interrupting, a quick question. And I'm new, so forgive me if this is a stupid question, but how much money, what is our revenue source once this lawsuit is settled and everything is fine and that revenue source starts flowing? What are we anticipating that to be?
Good question, and I cannot answer that question.
Don't know that we know.
Are you asking if we have any insight as to what the ongoing amount might be?
Yeah, I'm just curious, especially if you and again, forgive me for not being educated about this, but you guys are asking us to do 100,000 cap potentially for award. If the money flowing, we're anticipated flowing is going to be a lot or a little, not that that's a bad thing to change that policy of $100,000 cap. I'm not trying to say that. I'm honestly curious. Are we talking a few 100,000 or are we thinking $1 million? I mean, what kind of money is just anticipated?
Well, that's just for this grant. That's just for this year.
I'm talking about once the lawsuit is finalized and all of the adult entertainment the fees are assessed and the Department of Revenue begins collecting, and I assume that's available for grant funding.
I think
I don't know the answer to that. It may be that we just have to try to get some kind of estimate from revenue, but Melissa, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you
What I
off.
was going to say is that I can reach out to revenue and see if that is something that they have a projection on, or at the minimum, I think Ron had mentioned that he was trying to get a list of which businesses are paying in. I imagine that revenue is tracking which ones aren't. So I can try to get an idea of that, either out by email or the next.
I'd love to know that, especially since within the next few months, we're anticipating that revenue source will open up. And if some of those establishments are already paying, then maybe that is a decent estimate to see what that might look like. So thank you for all the information, y'all.
And Irene, to your point on the $100,000 cap, she is suggesting capping this award only, not ongoing awards.
Yeah.
So that's based on the fact that we've got 310,000 to award right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay Neal. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Irene. Been looking forward to seeing you in person.
And the only reason, right, that we are proposing a cap is it makes reviewing for our panelists incredibly difficult, because typically those larger applications are super robust and it's hard for us to pinpoint like a specific amount when they're proposing a larger project to deem that that would be successful. Okay, move forward. So our purpose areas and priorities, again, per the statute, include residential treatment facility and safe home support, prevention and awareness, and then innovative community-based services and support for our underserved populations. So residential services and safe home support, a range of housing options could be addressed, right, for emergency shelter, short-term housing assistance, long-term housing assistance. Again, if folks are looking for best practices to perhaps propose training for their staff in trust-based relational intervention or TRBI training for staff, which is apparently, you know, the best and brightest model that folks are finding is working for this specialized population. We can move forward. Next is, again, just to make sure that commission members understand, if a safe home is applying or proposing a request for safe home support, for residential services, they do have to make sure that they're complying with our domestic minor sex trafficking minimum quality standards of care, right? And again, be CCI certified through DHS. We also require that they have a human trafficking victim assistance certification, which is a pretty quick application process through CJCC, as that is required for any of our supported residential programs to receive referrals for placement by law enforcement, DFACS, or other agencies. If there is a new safe home that is applying for funds, we would also do a on-site visit with those folks to make sure that we are assessing for risk. And then we also invite any of our commission members that are interested in attending those visits before releasing any funds. And just a quick update, our team is working on a fact sheet regarding residential services in the state of Georgia. We've had a few programs that have come online just within the past 6 months or so. And so we hope to have that available to commission members at our next meeting. And we'll work with our partners here at DFACS as well. For prevention and awareness, we would be looking for proposals that illustrate a collaborative effort to develop, adapt, or disseminate training and outreach materials for our statewide 24/7 hotline, for our statewide service delivery plan, a statewide resource awareness, and then perhaps a statewide PSA campaign as well for any programs that would like to apply for those funds. Next. When we are reviewing applications, we always look to make sure that those proposed materials are culturally diverse and linguistically and culturally sensitive. And that, you know, if there is a specific audience that is being targeted, that, you know, those are very sensitive and, you know, that the materials are developed to reach that specific population. They could also consider prevention to include internet safety and how to seek help and bystander response. We know, right, that the role of technology and social media have played a really large role in recruitment enrollment, and that's only increased with the pandemic. And then the last priority is our community-based services and underserved population. So with the task force, the statewide task force with CJCC, our programs and stakeholders, we have identified the runaway and homeless youth population, and then our male and LGBTQIA populations, and our expectant mothers as our very underserved population for our CSEC victims. And then also for community-based services, these are really complex, right? And so we would be looking for wraparound services to make sure that we're addressing the complexities of the victimization. So some examples of that could look like secure transport for victims, legal services, and then again, medical services for expectant mothers, as we've heard that that's a really large gap. Okay, so what is the process for administering funds? Again, we would ask that the commission members review the request for applications and then make the motion to approve that for eligibility criteria. And the other question that we had for the commission was, right, because we are getting a little bit of a later start, we were going to see if it would be possible for us to go ahead and extend the grant period from March 1st of 2024, at least through December 31st of 2024, which is about 6 months past the state fiscal year. And that would just give our applicants the opportunities to spend down funds. If you were interested in creating a 12-month versus 9 months, that would be wonderful as well. We just don't know what the limitations are regarding accessing those funds past the grant period date. And then just to make sure that you all approve the priorities, our reporting requirements, and other requirements. Again, our eligibility criteria is that the agencies are within Georgia and that their sole purpose is to serve our crime victims, particularly CSEC victims. Again, that they are certified through our local victim assistance program and our human trafficking assistance organization certification process. And again, if they are a safe home, they do have to comply with standards of care. And again, any of our CCI requirements as well. Application review process. So this is a general timeline that we are proposing. If approved, we would like to release the solicitation in early January, hopefully by January 3rd. And then we would begin establishing and convening our review panel in January. Then we would invite commission members or anyone else that you all would like to see as external reviewers. Then we would bring those folks together, talk about our rubric and our timeline to get our applications reviewed. Our applications would be due on February 9th. And we would do our reviews through February. And then we would come back to the Safe Harbor Commission with recommendations in March of 2024 to then hopefully notify our awardees and get award packets sent out in mid to late March. And that concludes our presentation, and happy to respond to any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I was going to open it to the group to make sure that you have an opportunity if you do. Okay, well, with that, then I think as part of our agenda, we would take under consideration the RFA's approval. And again, assuming no one has any questions before we proceed, I would then go ahead and open it to entertain a motion for approving the RFA.
I'll make a motion to approve the RFA.
Second it.
So we have a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Just discussion. Does the motion include putting that $100,000 cap that y'all requested?
Yes.
The motion would include that.
Because that's included in the RFA, right? Just confirm. Okay, I'm seeing nods, yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the RFA, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We have approval of the RFA. Thank you, Christy, for that presentation and all of your hard work with the team to put that together. And I think that for the next agenda item, we have got a presentation from Micah's Promise. Want to make sure that you are ready to go with that. All right, you are welcome to get started.
First off, let me thank all of y'all. I am honored to be able to be at this table and to be a part of this meeting and tell you about the love of my life besides my sons. For me, I learned about trafficking of children in 2009 at a National Crime Victims Conference in New Orleans. And one of the breakout sessions was on CSEC, and the presenters were from Georgia. So they were from the Department of Juvenile Justice, Georgia Cares, and the Attorney General's office. And so at that conference, I accosted those people after their session and said, I live in Columbus, Georgia. What can we do to help with this problem? And they told me then, almost 15 years ago, that they needed therapeutic care for the kids. It started a journey. So I went back to school. I got my degrees, all the while telling people and trying to educate people that trafficking was actually happening. Nobody believed me for a long time. Nobody wanted to hear it for a long time. And I live in Columbus, Georgia, in Muskogee County. 2014, our organization was created. Micah's Promise was created out of my church. Small group of people at my church came together and decided we needed to do something about this. And we needed to try to get this home built. And within that year, I was sort of the last man standing. God called all those people to something else. And so, or woman standing, sorry. And so I've been kind of doing this out of my own pocket in the beginning. And then we became a nonprofit in 2018. You can go to the next picture. Micah's Promise, our mission is to educate, advocate, and ultimately restore by providing an environment for transformational life change for these children. I am at heart an advocate. I was an advocate for sexual assault victims since the mid-1990s, and that's why I went to that conference in 2009. I am a traveling roadshow, will talk to anybody, and cannot not talk about this issue. Gratefully, we have opened our doors. We received our first resident the first week of October. You can go to the next. I didn't know what to put in PowerPoint, so it's just a lot of pictures. It's been a lot of years and a lot of pictures. I have been friends with Assistant Chief of Police Joyce Dents Fitzpatrick on the left since the mid-90s, as I was an advocate for sexual assault victims. To the right of me there is Dr. Brett Murphy Dawson, who's a child psychiatrist, who is my twin. She's my soulmate. She's my, we just do this work together and have been since 2015. We couldn't do it without her. You can go to the next. We would have community events. I would pull in subject matter experts from Atlanta to come and do an annual training on trafficking. I would target social workers, school teachers, law enforcement, just all the first responders who might not really understand what they're seeing either in their classroom or on the street. And we've built great relationships. Can't really see him, but our juvenile court judge, Kenneth, is there in that picture. He's been a supporter of us from the beginning. Assistant Chief of Police Dents Fitzpatrick. You can go to the next. That's at a town hall meeting with the mayor, who is no longer the mayor now, but I kept trying to get in front of her. And yeah, that our mayor now is awesome. He is completely in support of everything that we do to try to help CSEC victims. Go to the next, and that's one of our city council members. We try to collaborate with everybody possible. We have so many wonderful partnerships in our community where we all work together and try to bring our resources together to bear, because we're all trying to serve a lot of the same people with just different services. You can go to the next. This is just more community involvement. And there's somebody y'all might recognize. So First Lady Marty Kemp, we invited her to a luncheon. The ladies surrounding us here are some movers and shakers in in Columbus, and my development director. Listen, y'all, I mean, God uses the most unlikely people, because I'm a nobody. I didn't know anybody. I had a voice, and I was using my voice. But when God brought me Landy, our development director, she opened the doors to families with foundational funds. And that just started us to skyrocket and really get some traction on getting this house built. We spent about 5 years, and we raised $4.2 million to build our facility. Right? Grassroots, complete grassroots, like beg, borrow, but we didn't steal. So anyway, you can go to the next slide. We do events all the time. We have an annual, that's our Mayor Henderson, and that's his wife. She was honored by the Grace Commission for really bringing to light the fact that the hotels, there was no teeth to the hotel legislation about having the posters up. And so now there's a $500 fine. You can go to the next slide. That's just more community outreach. And I'm coming in here raw, so please bear with me. I'm learned to not apologize for my tears, because it is my my body's way of handling the stress and the vicarious trauma that we incur doing this work. I'm very raw right now. This journey's just been incredible. But this is the intake room at our facility. This is the first room the girls come into when they're brought to us, and it's just beautiful and so calm. Go to the next. This is our therapy room. We've put a lot of those away. We're learning as we go. You can go to the next slide. This is our amazing kitchen and communal dining room. I really would love for y'all to come take a tour, because you just can't get the feel unless you're there. You can go to the next slide. This is our classroom. We have not, I listened earlier when y'all were talking about the new facility with Devereaux and the MOU with Gwinnett. We haven't been able to get the county that we're in to provide us with a teacher. We're funding everything on our own. Right now, my monthly budget, we're spending about close to $100,000 a month on staff and care for the girls and teacher and our education. So anybody who can help me with that, that'd be great. But we have a wonderful special ed teacher and a diverse setting in the classroom. For the next. Both girls' bedroom wings has their own community room where they can play games and do puzzles and watch limited TV. And then every girl has her own bedroom and her own bathroom. It's really amazing when these residents come in. Some come in fists up, right, ready to fight because they've had to fight their way out of everything, and some come in quiet. But either way, how they come in, once we walk them down the hall and they see that they have their own bedroom that has so much thought to it, and then we open the closet where the stuffed animals are, they just become children again. We'll go next. Again, it's just everything's so sweet and pretty. You can go to the next. This is a part of our outdoor. We have a tennis court, pickleball lines, basketball, and during the construction process, I kept feeling like the girls need to be outside more, and I started looking into research and saw that an outdoor classroom actually helps kids with ADD and other disabilities really retain information better. So I told the contractor, we have to have an outdoor classroom in this pavilion. And he's like, no, that's not part of the plans and it's not in the budget. And so, when God wants something, we get it. So I hit some people up and they paid for this beautiful pavilion, and you can go to the next. Our verse that we stand on, the reason why we do what we do, my why, is because God calls us to act justly, to go after justice, to love mercy for the oppressed, and to walk with him in that and trust that he will do that. And I know I'm probably running out of time, but I have to tell y'all, I'm coming in raw because what we've seen in these girls, there's such a high level of care that they need. Their trauma is so complex, and I asked earlier about PRTF because our state does not have enough beds. We don't have enough PRTFs. Some of these kids have got to go to a PRTF, which is a psychiatric residential therapeutic facility, because they need to get stabilized before they can come to the few of us that are out there in the state. We've had to say no to several residents, or they've had to go somewhere else because they needed to be 1013 so often. But they're in this cycle, and they're not getting stabilized and really getting the help that they need. We have a resident that right now is in juvie, but we're fighting to get her back. Thank you so much for buying us the van. Thank you so much for buying us the car for the doctor's visits. But this particular resident, because of her high level complex trauma, she got triggered and she broke the windshield on the van. So they had to take her to juvie. But because we have so many wonderful partnerships, one of our partners paid to have it fixed, because, how many times do you forgive? 70 times 7, right? And how many times do you give a broken kid another chance? As many times as we can. And so we're advocating to get her back. She wants to come back. She made such progress with us. And we're going to be at her court hearing on the 14th to get her back. I need y'all to know that these kids, there's so much. Can I say something? This has been so hard. You've got these small nonprofits with a very small number of people trying their best to raise all this money and do this. And then when you get to the process at the state level, there's not much help. So going through the CCI licensing process has been, I'm exhausted. We've got our CCI license. I don't know how to do the next part to get the OPM. We have kits already. We've gotten the waivers. I'm one person. I don't know how to navigate now going to the OPM and getting their approval. And I don't, these kids come in and it's so disjointed. They've been from placement to placement to placement. You're not getting the information that you need. Dr. Dawson wishes she could be here today. I don't know how other facilities operate without a licensed psychiatrist on staff. I had to hire her to be on staff to figure out, we don't know the medications they're coming in with. They don't come with their meds, and they have high level needs with meds. One resident has severe seizures, and she comes without her meds. And so Dr. Dawson's having to, after hours, 10 o'clock at night, go use her license to write for those meds. Two of our residents, these babies have syphilis. And one of them came to us, and it looked like she hadn't been getting her penicillin shots for syphilis. Again, I'm so sorry. Like I said, I came in raw because we've had these kids just break your heart. But the kids didn't surprise me, but everything else surprises me. Dealing with staff, dealing with people who don't want to work. I've had to up salaries to really retain good people. Again, I'm spending $100,000 a month. We don't have reimbursement yet because we don't know how to do the process. Again, because we hit the ground running, taking in the kids and are caring for the kids. Dr. Dawson wrote something out because she always makes more sense than I do and is much more articulate than I am. But I just wanted to make sure that you hear from her about the difficulties from a psychiatrist's point of view. She said the importance of being willing to have hard conversations. In terms of youth, the referring agencies, DFACS and DJJ, often do not tell the youth where they are going, which is another thing. So we've had youth act out, run, jump our fence, which we're learning so much from them. Thank God for these kids teaching us what they need and how to care for them. Not telling the youth where they're going, not preparing the youth. So in the beginning, we had the first two, we had great difficulty because they weren't prepared. They weren't told what was happening, or they were told they're going to a placement in a nice neighborhood instead of a lockdown facility. It's kind of setting us up for failure. The youth don't get a chance to process leaving and to learn about where they're going. So now we have implemented, we let the youth interview us before they come. We make sure that we get on a Zoom with them, let them ask us any questions so that we can be very forthright with them that, yes, we're going to have to search your belongings when you come. We are a lockdown facility. But again, we want to mitigate any extra trauma for these kids. Thus, they understandably become unglued when they find out they are in a more secure facility and have to be separated from some of their belongings. In terms of staff, when we don't address problems with staff head on, it simply festers and becomes more of an issue. The process to become a licensed facility is cumbersome and discombobulating. The fingerprinting process adds to the frustration of it all. Y'all field print, it is a mess. It is an absolute nightmare. And we're going to get dinged for it because this process, they're coming in January for their 6-month audit after the first. And this fingerprinting process is a nightmare. The UA, the intake paperwork completed by the referring caseworker, recent hospital discharge summary, and the current group home placement can have all different medication regimens listed. For non-medical staff, they might not realize the medication and their instructions are inconsistent. That's another stumbling block that we face. So I will be applying for these upcoming funds for many things to keep our psychiatrist on staff and for other things. And thank you for letting me rant, and just know that despite my rant, I am so grateful for the work that all of y'all do and for the partnerships that we have with CJCC. And again, just please forgive me.
Thank you for your presentation. And before I turn it over to Dr. Johnson, I will let you know, we sharing raw emotions, we understand where you're coming from. I mean, I think all of us have got a shared heart and mission to best serve these children. It's certainly a moving target. We're trying to move quickly to usher resources to best meet their needs in a very challenging environment for all of the partners that we have in the nonprofit space and the regulatory space. And so we hear you, and we certainly can understand some of those frustrations. On our side, we are trying to make sure that we have a robust and open dialogue with our providers. So monthly meetings, unannounced meetings, taking those phone calls from providers that are experiencing difficulty. We want to be available to you to see what we can do to address that. Of course, the licensing part is a tough one because in many ways, it's a combination of federal and state law. And for those requirements that we have sort of self-imposed above and beyond what the law would require, I can tell you, we are doing a comprehensive review of those to make sure we strike the right balance, and that if we can eliminate a hurdle that doesn't relate to safety, then we're looking at that and trying to do those step by step to make life a little bit easier, especially as we still are all trying to get out of the effects of the pandemic. The background checks thing, you're not the only person that has raised those concerns. I know that we've been working with other agencies to see what we can do to address that, and any opportunities for improvement involving vendors. So with that, though, I will see Dr. Johnson had her hand raised to share some thoughts.
Dr. Johnson, you're on mute.
You're muted. Oh, no. Somehow she's been muted, even though it says she's not muted. It's not working.
There we go. There we go. Sorry, my computer is saying muted. But what, Commissioner, you've shared everything that I wanted to say in reference to the support to the providers and what we've been dealing with, the background checks and all of that with RCCL. What I want to make sure I go on record with saying is that we truly partner with our providers. So what I would like to do is get a meeting scheduled with my team and RCCL so we can support you. We have meetings too where we can talk through the process so we can so you can understand the billing. Once you become a contracted provider, we go over the step-by-step of the billing. But because you accepted kids at a non-contracted provider, what I would like to do is have my team to be able to work with you to go ahead so you can get the billing taken care of. So at the conclusion of this meeting, look to receive an email from myself. Tiffany Cutler is the director for OPM, and James Kaiser is the director for CCTU. And we're going to get this resolved because we need more providers like you to be able to take our most complex kids' needs. And we want to make sure we support you through the process.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. You've already been helpful prior to this. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. We appreciate, look, we all have raw emotions here and there. I certainly do. And I appreciate the work that you're doing. We don't have enough providers in this space. And every new one that we add is a tremendous blessing to the children that need it and the young adults that need it in our state. So thank you for that. We're excited to keep working with you and hopefully can mitigate some of those issues so that you can be more free to do the work in the community. So we're toward the end of our agenda. The next meeting is scheduled for February 28th. And let's see, at that meeting, we are really excited. We have asked Judge Roxanne Formey, who runs Chatham County's Hope Court for CSEC youth, to present to the commission about her court, how she has set up this new structure in the community, how it serves these young adults in the state of Georgia with that CSEC involvement. And I know that she is really excited about the opportunity. We certainly are to hear from her. And with all of that, I just want to ask one more time if anyone has any questions or thoughts from the meeting or plans for the next one before we get ready to conclude. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the Safe Harbor Commission meeting.
So move.
Second.
All right. Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time today and looking forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.